I'm just a human.
Yeah.
So for me to act like cancer isn't bothering me is a lie. Sometimes I get so freaking scared when I'm in a group of people and there's something that needs to be done and they're like, oh shit, Clark can do it. And I'm thinking to myself, can I?
Right.
Can I? I don't know if I can.
Right.
But because I've created this monster,
Yeah.
everyone expects that Clark's gonna kill this cancer.
Do everything, yeah.
Oh, this ain't no big deal for Clark. I honestly, the other day, asked myself, did I underestimate this whole thing? Did I just kind of walk through this like I'm Clark Bartram, it ain't gonna hurt me, and I blew it off like I can continue to live my life without taking some action and immediate action?
Right.
I think I have.
I would like to introduce you to my friend, Clark Bartram. Clark is a pioneer in the fitness industry. We know him as the fun, outgoing personality who has graced hundreds of magazine covers. He's been on multiple TV shows. He is known for his viral ad in the Body for Life Challenge and has been given a platform to serve the world, and he's made a huge impact in the fitness industry and beyond. Today, Clark shared with us that he is facing the biggest battle he has ever faced before, and we got very emotional. Actually, it was heavy. And he shared with me that he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and as he battles it, he shares with us today his entire story. So come and join us. And this is Clark Bartram. This is how Clark is making his mark. Clark Bartram.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You are probably one of the most accomplished fitness celebrities in our industry today. You have done so much. And I'm sure that you've had a lot of highs and lows. You've battled a lot of things, and we're going to talk about it all. But you are right now entering the biggest battle of your entire life.
Yeah.
And I want to start with that, and then we're going to backtrack and talk about everything that's led you here. But just go ahead and let me know a little bit more about what you're going through right now and where you're at with that.
That's really weird. I just got emotional all of a sudden. The way you looked at me and did that intro, I can tell we're going to get into some really honest and vulnerable stuff, and I'm here for it. So about a year ago, almost a year ago, I heard my urologist say, we found cancer. And I've been living with that ever since. Mm-hmm. I've been like going through this process of confusion, no fear, honestly, until just the other day. I had a little bit of fear the other day, and we can talk about that. But this process of trying to understand what's the next best move for me, because that's what we need to figure out in life, is what is our next best move, no matter what it is, our marriage, our business, whatever. So this whole process of having prostate cancer is very, very confusing. Mm-hmm. It really is, because everybody has an anecdotal remedy.
Right.
Their uncle's cousin's brother cured theirs with a coffee enema, and you need to eat apricot seeds and drink black oil.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it is completely overwhelming. Yeah. And while I appreciate everybody with their anecdotal information, that is all that it is.
Right.
It has nothing to do with me whatsoever.
So when you first got your diagnosis, what was the first thing that went through your mind, and what was the first action you took?
So honestly, the first thing that went through my mind was my platform. Right. I coach men over 50, over 40, all around the world. And I thought, I have the most perfect platform to be the voice of this disease that 1 in 7 men are going to encounter.
That was the first thing you thought of?
That was the first thing that came through my mind.
Okay.
I looked back, I saw my wife, who was sitting to my left behind me a little bit. I saw her instantly start to cry. And I reached back and I said, we're going to be fine. I got this. Let's go. And you made a comment to me before about, I love the fact that you always say, let's go. And that really was my attitude. It was my attitude like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with it? Because men look to me, so I am the example and the invitation.
Yeah.
I heard that on the way up here today. I thought, I'm going to use that in this podcast at some point, and here's my opportunity. I'm the example and the invitation for men over 40 to get in shape and stay in shape, because I live that way. They can see me online, and then I'm also the invitation. Hey, come, let's do this. I'm the example in the invitation for men to go get their PSA checked. It's that simple. That's what I decided to do.
You know what I think? I think that you have been a mentor, a leader, and a role model for your entire life. And when faced with something really challenging, that is it, at the same time as it's something that you can provide people, it could also be a defense mechanism. Something that you turn to that would help you cope with what you're going through. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, it's a good point. And it's a great observation too. And I love the fact that you're challenging me on my bravado. That's basically what you're doing right now. And I love that because I really need to take a step back out of my emotion, even if my emotion is positivity, like, let's go. I always tell my guys, get on the balcony and observe your actions. Don't be in it.
Right.
So I'm in this energy of, well, I can be the example. I can tell all these guys.
Yeah.
Maybe I do need to really observe it from the point of, am I hiding from the fear of being told, Clark Bartram, this guy, this anomaly, this 60-year-old, whatever people want to look at me as, you have cancer, bro.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a very sobering word and thought.
Yeah.
And like reality that I have to face in my life right now. My life is changing as we speak every day. I never thought I would be at the doctor as much as I've been to the doctor.
Yeah.
I'm told you off camera, I'm flying to Miami to go to get another scan. I've never had so much radioisotope shoved into my veins and been in so many MRI tubes and talked to so many professionals and learned so many new words and situations in my life.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I'm sure it scares you a lot. And let's go back to that. But I want to actually backtrack and talk about some of the lighter, more fun things that really paved your path to get to here. Okay. Because then we're gonna like get a better idea of why you have the coping mechanisms that you have, right? Because your whole fitness journey started when?
October 3rd, 1963.
I love that.
Really, it was. I hit the ground running.
You hit the ground running.
I hit the ground running.
So what were your like athletic endeavors when you were younger?
You know, growing up in Canton, Ohio, we'll talk about something that I never really talk about that's very, very emotional for me in the sense that when people look at me, this blows their mind. And I think about my dad when I talk about this.
Okay.
I didn't play football in high school. And that, to this day, I don't want to say it kills me, but it bothers me. It bothers me so bad because I know what could have been for me.
Okay.
And so my dad's whole purpose for me, I told you off camera again, my dad married my mom to breed the world's greatest athlete. That was his goal. He saw my mom, very tall brothers, German descent, this strong breed of humans. So his whole purpose was...
He had natural selection on his mind.
Natural selection, right? And I, from Canton, Ohio, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, birthplace of football, we just had the Hall of Fame game. His goal was for me to be one of the best athletes, specifically in football. And I played flag football and midget league football and all that sort of stuff. That's what we called it then. I did all that, but when it came to high school, I stopped playing. I had my growth platelets were underdeveloped for my growth of my quadriceps.
Really?
So I was predisposed to be who I am at a young age. So when I was very active as a kid, my quads kept getting bigger and stronger, but my growth platelets couldn't handle the strength of my quads.
Okay.
So there's something called Osgood Slaughters. This is related to Osgood Slaughters, but it's not exactly that. So at the age of 14, 1975, or whenever year it was, I went to an orthopedic surgeon, and the remedy at that time was to immobilize you and atrophy your muscles.
Oh, God, that probably killed you.
So I was given the option to sit out the summer, and summer back then was 3 solid months. 3 solid months, right?
That's
it wasn't like
a lifetime as a kid.
Yes, a lifetime. And we would play and do all of this sort of stuff. So the option I was given at the age of 14 was to sit in a wheelchair with 2 casts on to let my legs atrophy. And I elected not to do that. They said, you do this or you stop playing sports or live with the pain of that. And
what did you do?
I said, I'm not going to play sports anymore. I don't want to sit in a cast for 3 months. I couldn't see the benefit of the short-term discomfort, the short-term, and this might be what I need to hear right now with relation to my cancer.
Wow.
I didn't want to sit there for 3 months. I gave up what could have been with playing football, because if anyone knows me now, they see all the stuff that I do on the internet.
Yeah.
You're
a phenom.
I'm still fast. I still have all of the ability to do this.
Right.
And I couldn't imagine what it would have been like then. But maybe it would have been something drastic back then. I don't know. Maybe I would have got hurt.
Yeah.
Who knows why I didn't take that route? But all I know is that when my dad died, the last conversation I had with him had to do with football. One of the last conversations was, Dad, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't play football.
Oh, God, that kills me.
Yeah, I remember writing a note to him and crying tears on the note going, Dad, I know the plans you had for me. I know what you wanted for me. And some people might be watching this like, why is this dude crying over this? I've never talked about this ever.
But do you know what? I know that your dad had to be so proud of you, everything that you accomplished, because I also think that everything happens for a reason, and your path blew up. You've done so much more than probably you would have ever done playing football, right? And you don't have any head injuries.
Yeah.
So that was, that's really heavy.
Yeah.
That's really heavy.
And I told my dad later in life, I said, Dad, I know I didn't accomplish what you wanted for me in football, but I'm the best at what I do.
Yeah.
I'm the best in the world at what I do. So I took all of that energy that could have been, on a football field and put it into my career in fitness, even though people said, Clark, you're too short to be on magazines. You're too this, you're too that.
Okay, really fast, take me back to that conversation you had with your dad, because you had a conversation with your dad. Tell me more about what you said and what he said.
Well, so it was a note that I was writing to him that I was laying my heart out.
Okay.
And I remember crying tears. I remember the ink being, kind of smudged because of my tears.
Oh my gosh.
And I sent him that note. But when he was dying, I got a call from my younger brother in 2010. He said, dude, Dad's dying. I said, I'll be home in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
So I went home and so the conversation was much bigger than football, but football was a part of the conversation. So my mom and dad were divorced. And when I was the middle kid, and I was the one that my mom would say, you tell that rotten son of a bitch he owes child support, he better pay me. So when I was going to my dad's and he would be outside waiting for me, my message from my mom to my dad was, Mom said you owe child support. I was always the guy that had to send that message.
Are you serious?
And it was my whole, I can see it in my brain right now. My mom, you tell that. And my dad never spoke ill of my mom once, but my mom would just, because she was in pain, she hurt.
Yeah.
And I came to find out something later. So fast forward 2010, my brother says, come home, Dad's dying. I get there. My dad had married my mom's best friend. So, So when I was getting on the magazines.
And you're in the middle of all this?
I'm in the middle of all of it. So when I was getting on the magazines, I said, Dad, I'm coming home. He goes, good. I want you to go see Judy's coworkers. This is my mom's best friend, my dad's wife. So all of the stories that surrounded that, you can imagine. So I'm sitting there in the morning one day with my mom. We're drinking coffee. She said, hey, what are you doing today? I said, well, my dad wants me to go to Judy's and go to her work, and they want to show me on this magazine cover. And she's real quiet. She said, would you do me a favor? I said, sure. She goes, don't go. I said, done deal. I'm not going to go. Because I knew that hurt my mom, because this woman was showing me off like I was her kid. She's like,
I get it.
You're not her kid.
Right.
Why should she show you off?
Right.
So I called my dad. I said, Dad, can't go.
Yeah.
So that caused a problem between me and my dad. So now I come back in 2010. There's Judy sitting there. My dad's laying in bed dying. Ohio State's on the TV. My dad is non-responsive.
Oh my gosh.
I walk in, I said, oh, Ohio State's playing. My dad says, Ohio State? That's how much he loved football. He was not responding. The male nurse said, the guy hasn't said anything in days. You said Ohio State, now he takes off his thing. Ohio State's playing? That was his goal for me. So anyway, Judy, my mom's former best friend, my dad's wife, says, I'm really tired.
Yeah.
Can you watch him while I go and eat? So prior to me leaving, going to the hospital, I'm sitting with my mom again. She said, where are you going? I said, well, I'm going to see my dad. You know, he's in the hospital. She said, tell him something for him. I'm like, oh my God, dude. I'm going to have to tell this guy to burn in hell? This is what my mom's going to tell me. Tell him.
Yeah.
I said, okay, what? She goes, tell him I never loved anyone as much as I loved him.
Oh, God.
I was like, son of a bitch, wow. So I go to my dad.
Oh, my God.
The wife leaves, my mom's former best friend, and it's like God is in my heart saying, dude, this is your time.
Oh, my gosh.
This is your time. My dad's laying there.
Oh, gosh.
Perfect, beautiful black hair, wavy, good looking. I said, Dad, I need to tell you something. He said, what? He took his thing off. What? I said, Mom.
Oh, gosh.
Told me to tell you she never loved anyone as much as she loved you.
Oh, my
Boom,
gosh.
tear, instantly.
Oh, my God.
Instantly. He said, I know. I was like,
Oh, my God.
wow. I got to deliver that last message of the reason there was so much anger is because there was so much love.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
you know, all of this, these things are temporary in life, right? Like that hate was temporary. The casts and the atrophy was temporary.
Yeah.
And what I'm realizing now in this conversation is there is a longer term benefit to a short term like pain or a short term putting off of what you want, you know?
Or I feel like we have defense mechanisms and we put up walls to cope with certain emotions, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, the love that your mom and dad had for each other, it was like they had walls put up and
big ones.
Unfortunately, they weren't able to communicate their true feelings with each other.
No.
That's something you have sat with.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then in 1988, I got born again. I became a Christian at a power team meeting. These guys that blow up hot water bottles and rip phone books and all that. So when I got saved, my dad made fun of me. He's like, oh, you're a Christian now? You're just... So he was agnostic and atheist, kind of a blend of both.
Right.
He had no place in his heart for God. So that happens the first day. The next day, I go back in again. I got to leave the following day.
Yeah.
I go back in the next day. I'm sitting there, and Judy, mom's former best friend, dad's wife, says, hey, do you mind? I'm going to go eat again. My dad's laying there with the thing on. He pulls the thing off. He said, son, do you hear the music? I said, no, sir. I said, yes, sir, and no, sir to him my whole life. He taught me to keep my fingernails clean. My fingernails are always clean.
You have good fingernails.
Yes, they are. This is because of my dad. When my dad would pick me up, the first thing I had to do when I got in his car was this. If my fingernails were dirty or not clipped, I had to go back in the house and clean them and clip them. He said, you will be clean everywhere you go in life. That's what people will, the first thing they'll notice is your appearance. Wow. I don't care how much money you have, show up clean and put together. So she leaves. My dad says, son, do you hear the music? I said, no, sir. What are you talking about?
What music?
I said, what music? He said, by the water. Come to the water. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Then it hit me. This guy was having a moment. Music, water.
Yeah.
You know, that's like talked about a lot in the Bible.
Wow.
So I went over and I said, I put my head on his chest and I laid it on there. I said, yes, sir, I hear the music. It's beautiful. I hear the music. So we had that moment and then I left. And before I left, I sat down next to his bed and I was sitting right here. He was right there. And I said, Dad, I know I didn't play football. And I'm sorry, but I'm the best at what I do. I said, but know this, you can die. You can die right now. And know I'm a good man. I'm a great man. People love me. People respect me. I'm a great husband. I'm a great father. I'm a great businessman. I respect people. People respect me. And your legacy will continue to live on in me.
Wow.
So we're good. I'm leaving here. We're good.
Oh my gosh.
And he said, I love you. And I kissed my dad on his lips the whole time, all my whole life. When he would pick me up, he would, you know, just a little peck on the lips.
Oh my gosh.
And I kissed him on his lips, left. Next day, I'm picking up my kids from middle school, and I get a call from my little brother. And I fully expect him to say, hey, Dad got out. He's, you know.
He's going to be fine.
He's hanging out. He's fine. He's like, Dad's dead. I said, okay. Okay.
You had closure.
Yeah, okay.
You had your
I'm
closure.
Good.
Wow.
So that's the situation I'm currently in with my mom. I was just with her. She's in a home. And I went just last week, 2 weeks ago. I walk in, I look at her, I say, Mom, you know who I am? She just looks at me. I say, you know who I am? I said, Mom, look at me. My mom loves beauty. My mom was a beautiful woman. I called her Big Red. And I said, look at me. You look how good looking I am, Mom. You believe I'm 60? Look at me. And she got the biggest smile on her face. And I knew then that she recognized me, you know, non-responsive other than her eyes. I could see it in her eyes. So I'm in that process right now with my mom. And after I go through all this cancer stuff that I'm doing, I'm going to shoot back to Ohio again because I can. And I'm just going to go hang out with my mom and do the same thing. I've already said all of what I need to say to her. But I'm going to say it again. And I'm going to say it again. I'll say it as many times as I need to say it, because the last time I said it, I said, Mom, you're a great mom. The kids in the neighborhood would come over and get fed all the time, blah, blah, blah. I've never heard that before. I said, well, you just did. You just did. I love you, you know.
I think people, you know, we all eventually we all reach points in our life where, you know, we lose our loved ones. We have these kind of moments where we're reflecting on life, you know. And for a lot of people, there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? But in your case, I would say, just from observational analysis, I don't think you have any shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I think you have a lot to really think about, you know, in terms of what mark you've left. And I think we could trace back to a moment in time when you were really put on the map and were given a platform to really, and I think saying it like that is important, because I think that, you know, there's a lot of, you know, people, their photo gets out and stuff like that, and that maybe they had the opportunity to have a platform, but to have somebody that has the gift and the goods and the wherewithal, and then given the platform, now you have that golden moment, right? Your golden moment was when you were featured in the Body for Life Challenge. So tell me about that, and tell me about how that kind of took off with your career.
Yeah, so as much as I've done in my career, TV and movies and all of that, that evolution photo that I did for EAS back in 97.
That was that golden moment.
That was it. And it wasn't even meant to be me. It was Mike Ryan was the original guy that was supposed to be in that photo. So he found out how much weight Bill Phillips wanted him to gain. So for anyone watching this, it's the EAS Evolution Photo. I was in shape. I was actually shooting a cover that day, and it was EAS's #1 selling cover of Muscle Media magazine. Me and a girl, she was on my back. We got done shooting that cover. She popped off my back, and then the phone rang, and Cal Yee, the photographer, was arguing with someone on the phone. He's like, hey, what you can't, what do you mean you can? You told me you were going to be able to do it. So Mike Ryan was like, he wanted 50 grand. He wanted a Harley Davidson, because EAS was making bank. Bill Phillips could have bought anything for anybody, but Bill and him were really good friends. Bill said, no, I'm not going to do that. So Cal was like, well, Clark's right here. Ask him. So Cal puts, hey, will you get fat for an ad? I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? So he explained to me that they wanted to do this evolution. So it was actually a guy by the name of Joe Polish who came up with the idea. He saw an ad in Australia, which was similar. He pitched Bill Phillips on having an out-of-shape guy get in shape and call it the new theory of evolution. And it was promoting EAS's supplements. And I happened to be the guy. And to this day, still, it is the biggest ad campaign in the history of fitness. There were billboards, Times Square, semi-trucks, parties with the Denver Broncos. All
That's
sorts
so
of
crazy.
stuff. Yeah.
And it was a pioneer of body transformation challenges too, which we see everywhere now.
Yeah.
You know, but at the time when before it took off, let me just ask you, because you are somebody who really sees this on opportunities, you see opportunities before that they even happen. Did you see this as a huge opportunity before it took off? Did you have any idea?
A mentor helped me see it, a girl by the name of Kathy Sasson.
Okay.
And Kathy Sasson had a company called Intrafit, and she had an office at Gold's Gym Venice. And her husband, Billy Smith, he was one of the gladiators, real big, buff guy.
Right.
And Kathy was a eco challenge racer. She ran around doing all that crazy stuff. So I was up there, and I had the Muscle Mania in 1997 that I was getting ready for, and that final photo of the series of 4.
Right.
And that photo was shot in order because, like I said, I was shooting a cover. I was in shape, but Bill made me get out of shape.
Yeah.
And I had to go to Gold's Venice every couple of weeks, and Cal Yee would take a picture of me and send it to Bill, and Bill would say, nope, he's not fat enough. So I was sitting there with Kathy one day as she was going, I would drive 2 hours to have her do my nutrition.
That would be so hard.
Yeah, it was rough because, you know, I've always been in shape.
I would not be able to do it.
It was rough. So I'm getting out of shape, and she said, Clark, you need to understand, this photo is going to last forever.
Ever.
The bodybuilding contest, it's going to be a day.
Yeah.
And you're either going to win or lose. And that's kind of subjective anyway.
Yeah.
But this, I am going to dial you in for the photo.
Right.
Whatever happens with the bodybuilding show happens. If you're going to peak on one day, this is the day you're going to peak. Do you understand me? I said, yes, ma'am. And that's what she did. And I look at that photo and I'm like, I look good.
Yeah.
And it has lasted forever. And people still talk about it today. And it's still the biggest campaign.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, I reconnected with Cal Yee 26 years later.
Yeah.
And we took the 5th image in that series now.
Right.
And I need to put that in my garage because I've got a giant poster of it in my garage. So yeah, it definitely was something huge for me.
So you got discovered a lot after that, I'm sure. You had opportunities flooding in your door. Tell me about the first huge opportunity after that campaign.
So I'd already been on Kiana's Flex Appeal.
Yeah.
But there came an opportunity for another season with Kiana, which she didn't normally do.
Yeah.
From what I understand, she would typically have people on for a couple seasons because apparently her handlers said, we don't want
anyone to overshadow her.
Right. We don't want someone to be on there all the time because this is Kiana's Flex Appeal.
Right.
Not Kiana and Clark's Flex Appeal.
Right.
So I think that everything just started to accumulate and the momentum behind me started to just build up and build up. So I had the opportunity to go on Kiana's show again, but it was at that time that other people started to see me. A guy by the name of Bill Likens, he recently died of cancer, oddly enough. And I was standing next to him when he died, actually. But anyway, it's a whole different story. So he and I were at the gym. I told you the story. We're standing there and we're looking up at me on TV on Kiana's Flex Appeal. He's like, dude, you're good. You need your own TV show.
Yeah.
He said, I got money and I have a little production company. Why don't we do this? And all of the people on Kiana's show said, hey, you're good enough to have your own show. If you ever want us to work for you, we will. So I called them all. They worked for free. Bill put up his 15 grand that he had in the bank. We shot a pilot. Monica Brandt was my co-host, and we came up with a show called American Health and Fitness. So that really helped be a catalyst for me to end up getting my own show.
Right.
So I turned down Kiana's opportunity and had my own show, which was on the air all around the world for years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you remember any particular interactions you had with fans where you know, it really hit you that you were making a really big impact?
Today. Oddly enough, you know, I was walking in O'Reilly Auto Parts, getting some stuff for my radiator fluid. And there was a guy in there and I saw him looking at me when I walked in. And I walked out. He said, hey, excuse me, like today, just this morning.
Are you serious?
Yeah, just this morning. He said, excuse me, do you mind if I ask you a question? I said, no. He goes, do you do stuff on TikTok? I said, yeah. He goes, oh, it's so nice to meet you. I said, what's your name? He said, my name's D. I said, well, I'm Clark Bartram. Pleasure to meet you. So we had an exchange. I said, you stay in Escondido, blah, blah. I'm right up the street. You can't miss my house. I have a gym in my driveway. And I walked away thinking, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. here I am today at 60 years old
Yeah.
on a platform that was meant for kids,
Yeah.
where I'm having an impact on people's lives, where they're seeing my contribution with something as simple as 3 moves, 3 minutes, or me being really honest and raw and real, because you had made mention earlier, like,
Yeah.
Clark, this is who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get a little triggered online because that's what I know.
Yeah.
But when people are trolling me, it bothers me because I'm like, you don't even know who I am.
Right.
Why would you be so ugly to do this? And people are like, Clark, don't respond. I'm like, no. I need to respond because
Yeah.
I'm defending my calling and my purpose and my reason for being here. And if a man will be a man, he's
Yeah.
going to go, you know what, bro? My bad. I was having a bad day.
When you say you have trolls, what is the typical trolling that you get?
You know, it's very, I was thinking about it last night. There's no typical.
There's no typical.
Because every time
the most triggering one that you've ever had.
I think there's AI. Honestly, this is a real live response to that question. I think there is AI specifically on TikTok, because they say there are bots on there, that figures out the things to say based upon the
Like, it's not
last
even a
thing
real
that was
person.
said. It's not a real person.
Wow.
It knows what to ask. It's figured out my anger button. I swear to God, I think this is a real thing. It's figured out my anger button. And it's like, okay, we can't get him with you're short. We can't get him with you don't have muscle, whatever. We get him with something different.
Okay, but what is your anger button? Can you share?
It's a variety of things.
Okay.
It's a variety of things. I never really know until I get hit.
Okay.
And then I come in and I'm looking at it, and my initial thought is, why would you say that?
Okay, but can you share what one was?
I would have
what
to go
was-
to the most recent one.
Okay.
The most recent one was, and this was an actual real live person because I
Right.
brought him on live to speak with me.
Yeah.
I was doing the bullfrog machine that I
Mm-hmm.
have, and I'm kicking my ass. I'm sweating, and I look up, and there's comments like, "Hey, bro, yeah, great workout, this and that." And he goes, "The most boring workout ever." And I'm like, "Bitch, what are you talking about? What is bicep curls any less boring? Is a bench press
Yeah.
any less boring? What are you talking about?"
Right.
So it wasn't that I was triggered.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like you're ugly or
Yeah.
your wife is whatever.
Right.
It wasn't that specific.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to trigger you. It was something so random, like, that's a boring exercise, dude.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do. And I think that probably the reason it bothered you so much is because you take a lot of pride and this is your livelihood and this is something you have a lot of passion for. I mean, you're passionate about. And also the fact that you're sharing your workout in the first place. I mean, how many people just do their workout and don't share it and they keep it to themselves? The fact that you're willing to share something that can actually help somebody, and then for somebody to kind of say something like that, it's like, you don't have to be doing this. You don't have to be sharing so much with everybody.
Yeah, and you don't have to say a word. If you
Right.
don't like it,
Right.
or at least say it in a way that is not meant to be demeaning or disrespectful.
Yeah.
And that was this guy's whole attention, because I said, "Hey, bro, if you have more than 1,000 followers, let's go live."
Mm-hmm.
And he had like 4,000. So I hit it. He went live, but there was no video of
Yeah.
him. I said, "Bro, turn your video on. I want to see who it is I'm talking to." He's like, "I can't. My face just got hurt," or whatever. I'm like, "Did someone smack you for being an idiot? Is that how your face got hurt?" Because turn your camera on.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to a faceless person. I want to see
Yeah.
who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
If you're this expert on fitness
They'll
and how
never
in the
show.
UK you guys do this, I need to see who it is I'm talking to.
They never
No, I
will.
won't. I said, "I'm done with you then." And I know people watching like, "Clark, that's so childish." But until you live in my world and walk in my shoes and do the things that I
Yeah.
do, you can't say that it's childish or anything like that. It's just, it's life.
Isn't it
Right?
so crazy though, how when you were, when you're in magazines and you were doing your talk show and you're doing all the stuff, people didn't have access to you. They didn't have any access to you. You were doing your thing, and it was like people they could see you, but they couldn't touch you. But it's just so crazy how different things are now. People can access you and you're human.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I think that people probably see you and think of you and they go, "Oh gosh, he's just like not a real human." People say what they're going to say. And like, to your point, it's always somebody behind the other end who doesn't want to be seen themselves. Usually they have a profile where there's, an icon for
user 248
there's no, it's not
675
like somebody who actually would put themselves out there or talk to you face to face anyway. But it's just so interesting to me and fascinating that people have access to, everyone is accessible these days,
Yeah.
How does that feel? What's the difference because you've lived both worlds. Tell me, because there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
There's pros too. So tell me, what are the pros and cons of both sides of it?
The pros of, well, I guess the cons of back in we'll call it the magazine era, where that was how you were an influencer, was it was a very tight funnel. Only a certain amount of people had access.
Yeah, it's like a bottleneck.
Yeah, to getting famous from the media that we had available to us. That was magazine covers. So it was the same guys, me, Mike O'Hearn, Frank Seppi, Christian Boving, and a few other guys. So with that's the con of that era. The pros of this era is anyone. And everyone thinks they are, but anyone can make their own mark. It's like the Wild Wild West. You go out there and stake your claim and create a unique selling proposition. The pros of back then was if me, Mike O'Hearn, Christian Boving, Sebastian Siegel, any of these guys, if we were at an event because we're on a magazine and speaking, no one in the crowd would stand up and go, "You're on TRT."
Right.
Not one person would do that because they don't want to be confronted with, "What are you talking about, bro? Where did that come from?" First of all.
Because they've talked to you face to face.
Yeah, they would not do that.
Right.
But today, to your point, they think they can get away with it because they can, because they're not ever being called out on it. And that's why I feel it's necessary to call them out when everybody's saying, "Clark, just let them go. They're trying to get you."
Yeah.
I'm like, I understand that, but I cannot let everyone go. I don't challenge everyone, but I'll look through the list and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I got to address this guy.
Yeah.
And here's typically what happens is when an actual man has an encounter with me like that, and I say, "Here, I'm going to send you my phone number. Let's talk about this offline." We get on the phone. 10 times out of 10, they'll go, "You know what, dude? You're a good guy."
Right?
"You're a good guy. I'm sorry. I was having a bad day." That's what's happened 100% of the time.
Well, I mean, if they're so into watching everything that you do, they're your biggest fan.
Yeah, I'm like, "Bro, you followed me. I didn't see a follow back. You followed me for a reason."
Right.
And I just want to prove to you that I'm a real guy. Like, I'm a real, and I never bring up the cancer thing. I never bring up any of that. Like, I don't talk about all of that. Like, "Hey, you got to respect me because I have cancer." No, you respect me because I'm a human with feelings. Period.
Yeah. Right.
I'm here like raising a family and building a business and having the same struggles as anyone else. And I show it. And I'm so happy, Wendy, that you brought out the other stuff in me, because to your point off camera, it's like, "Clark, you're always motivating people. Let's not do that. Let's get to the root." And you did a great job getting there right away, because like I said with the intro, I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry."
We both did.
Yeah. And I'm happy because I want people to see beyond the social media snapshot.
Yeah.
Like, that was painful for me to talk about the fact that I, shoulda, coulda, woulda. That's one shoulda, coulda, woulda that I have.
Maybe. But also, when it comes to being a motivator, I think two things can be true at the same time. Okay. I think on one hand, it's who you are. And I think, you have a calling, and I think everybody sees it. You're a chosen one, and there's something in you that is so special that is supposed to be out for the world to have a piece of, and that, you understand that, you acknowledge it, and you spread what you can. And you do that like it's a responsibility that you have. And I think it is, right? And the second thing, which I think could also be true at the same time, is it's also a coping mechanism for you when something happens and you're presented with something that's challenging. That's what and you know that it works to help build you up because it's what you're here to do. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, to the first point of this is my calling and my purpose. The comics say with great power comes great responsibility. And the Bible says, "To whom much is given, much is required." I feel like looking the way I look, speaking the way I speak, having the ability to connect with people the way I do, I owe it to people to give them my best. Like D at the auto parts store today, stopping my older brother, who just recently died.
I'm sorry.
I thought about him when I walked up to this guy in the thing, I said, hey, what's your name? And every time I would do that, like my brother would go to the Arnold Classic with me and just walk around behind me and see me interact with people. And it was what my dad taught me, you know, everyone matters. So asking D his name, asking D where he's from, and saying what my name was, even though he already knew who I was. Hi, I'm Clark Bartram. My older brother Rocco would always say, I respect the hell out of that, because you know they know who you are.
Right. I say this, I talk about this all the time. People who are your fans, they already know everything about you. They follow you. They have studied you. They know they don't want to see you because they want to admire you harder. They want to see you because they want you to see them.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. And I've actually talked about this a lot too, because I think people make the mistake, people who have the notoriety or have the fame, you know, and they have a lot of fans, you know, go to events and they maybe expect that people who admire them are just so excited to just admire them harder. They've already admired you as hard as they possibly can. And now it's the opportunity for them to look at you in the eyes and say, oh my gosh, Clark just saw me and we've made a connection. Yeah. That is so special for people. I truly believe that.
I'm glad you do that same thing, because we've seen enough people in this industry who don't.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
I've implemented a 10-foot rule. So if I see someone and they're within 10 feet of me and they say, hey, Clark, what's up? I'm going to turn and go to them and dap them up or do something, give them a hug or whatever it is in the gym. Matter of fact, it happened the other day. I was walking past a guy and he acknowledged me in the morning, and I went down the steps. I got 2 steps down and I said, no, I got to go back. And I went back. I said, I'm embarrassed that I walked past you without saying anything. My bad. And he's like, that's okay. But I think it's important that we really do address people with this understanding that people want to be acknowledged as well. Yeah. And to your other point in this responsibility and me coping, I really am going to look at that, because I believe you're right. Yeah. Because again, to the point we've been making this whole time, I'm just a human. Yeah. So for me to act like cancer isn't bothering me is a lie, you know? Because I got fucking cancer, man. You know, it's not an easy thing to admit. And that's really weird, like admit, like I have cancer, like it's some cooties. Right. But it does make you feel set apart and different. Right. It, like Clark Bartram, this anomaly has always been this superhuman character of, he can throw a football behind his back without looking and put it in a little hole, or he can do muscle ups at 60, or he can do this and that and the other thing. And that carries a lot of weird responsibility to it.
I can see that. You
know what I mean? Because when I'll tell you something, another vulnerable thing. Sometimes I get so freaking scared when I'm in a group of people and there's something that needs to be done, and they're like, oh shit, Clark can do it. And I'm thinking to myself, can I? Right. Can I? I don't know if I can. Right. But because I've created this monster, everyone expects that Clark's going to kill this cancer.
Do everything. Yeah.
Oh, this ain't no big deal for Clark. Or Clark can do that. Clark can do this. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I can.
Do you think that's, I want to actually go back to that, but really fast, a little bit off and then come back to that. Do you feel like people who are highly successful, because none of us really know what the hell we're doing, you know? I mean, the most successful people probably don't know what the hell they're doing. We just don't know. I think that the secret to success, personally, this is my opinion, is really, you know, in moments where you're the most fearful, because I think the most successful people probably face the most fear. You pretend like you're not, and you put up as much of a false sense of the fact that you feel like you can do it, to where people are convinced. And that, I truly believe, is the secret. I don't know, maybe I stand alone in this, but what are your thoughts on that?
I was watching Man on Fire yesterday. You ever saw that movie? My wife's like, you're watching this again? I'm like, probably my 150th time watching it. But there's a scene where Senor Creasy is talking to little Pia, and she's getting ready to go swimming. Yeah. I don't know why it's making me emotional to say this, but it's the relationship that they had, right? And she's like, I'm going to be the toughest swimmer out there. And he's like, trained or untrained? Right. You're either trained or untrained. Right. I think I've trained myself to be that person that you just talked about, to be the one that in the midst of whatever it is that I got going on, people think I got it together.
I got this. I know. Yeah.
People think I got it together when inside, maybe I don't, but at least I'm giving off this energy to give people comfort. It's like, oh, Clark, cancer. I think half the people that I told that I have cancer have forgotten.
Yeah.
Because I've trained myself to be, let's go.
Right.
I got, you know, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
When I honestly, the other day, asked myself, did I underestimate this whole thing? Did I just kind of walk through this like I'm Clark Bartram, it ain't gonna hurt me, and I blew it off like I can continue to live my life without taking some action and immediate action?
Right.
I think I have, to a degree.
Okay, but you're taking action now.
Oh yeah, I'm taking action now. Well, I have the whole time.
Right.
Because I've educated myself, I'm learning, and I'm not ignoring it.
Right.
But I had to ask myself, outside of that emotion, that trained person to be that guy in the midst of that fear, to go, wait a minute, get out of that, get on the balcony, observe yourself. Are you making the right moves right now, Clark? Are you making the right moves? And I am.
Yeah.
I really am, because I'm getting another scan, and another PSMA PET scan. You know, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of expense. It's but fortunately, I've made some really great contacts that are helping me. But you had another point you were going to bring up. I don't want to.
No, I was just going to say, you know, in and out, I think that, you know, the defense mechanism could be helpful because, you know, the pros to that is that I think the mind is so powerful. And I truly believe that when you have your mind overcome a certain degree of it, that is a power in and of itself, you know? And I think that a lot of people have combated. I mean, the human capabilities go beyond what we can even comprehend. And I think that there are people who have overcome things just from the power of the mind. You know, it's incredible if you think about it, what we're able to do. And I've experienced a little bit of it in just athletic feats, crazy things just over the course of my athletic career, where I just look back and I'm like, could I recreate that? I don't think so. It was like a moment where your mind just overtakes something. And I think that there's a power there. You know what I mean? So with you, you know, overcome your cancer, you went straight into your defense mechanism, you know, your coping strategies. And maybe there's moments when maybe it would be good and healthy for you to have that take a step back, but I'm sure it's helping you too.
Yeah. You know, we cried a little bit here and having that, maybe that's why emotions kept coming up, because I really was facing this reality that I'm sitting in this moment.
Right.
Like, think about it. As I sit here,
right,
there is cancer in my body that is currently spreading, trying to get outside of the capsule that it's in to go out to other parts of my body. I had made mention of the fact that I stood next to a dear friend of mine. I stood next to him while he took his last breath. I was holding his hand and praying for him while that was happening. And so I see the reality of the place that I'm just kind of entering into the world, where he had entered into that world at one point too. Yeah. So his reality was, your time is up on this earth. And that could be my reality as well. And something that I am learning with respect to all of the people that I'm surrounding myself with in respect to what we're talking about is environment trumps will all the time, right? The environment that I'm putting myself in, around people like you, around the doctors that I'm around, like my will to be strong. Yesterday I was weak.
Right.
So I had this person within my world, my environment, that I was able to reach out to get me back on track.
Right.
Right. So my will can only get me so far, but environment, and this is what I want people to take away, is environment trumps will.
Right.
So what are you doing in your life to prepare yourself for news like we found cancer?
Yeah.
Are you watching the news every day? Are you, you know, arguing with people on TikTok all the time, every day? The majority of my life, fortunately, even though I brought that up, isn't that.
Right. The
majority of my life is listening to positivity on the way up here, talking to myself. You're Clark Bartram. You're strong. You're witty. You're powerful. You're charismatic. You're handsome. You're, you know, all of these affirming words that I know that I am. And I repeat that. So I created an environment in my car before I come here. and I give you my best.
And to your defense, you're not going looking for a fight. You're trying to spread positivity, and you're trying to share a piece of your life that actually will help people, and people coming at you. That's totally different. That's not the same thing. Yeah,
it's different. So yeah.
So that doesn't even count.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that your coping mechanism, I think that everything you're doing to create that strong, powerful environment is all like harnessed within you. And I personally, I just know that you're going to overcome this. I know that beyond you trying to convince me. So let's actually backtrack and let's talk about with everything, you know, that's led you up to here. Okay, what do you want people to remember you by?
Clark Bartram loved people.
Yeah,
I love people. I really do. But in the same day, I can say I freaking hate people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's because I love people so much. It's like my mom and dad.
Yeah, that's what you knew.
It's the same thing. It's that I have this desire. When you said, when did you start? I said October 3rd, 1963. I know for sure, beyond a shadow of any doubt, that I am sitting here because God called me to do this. This is my purpose. I am walking in my path, in my plan. Cancer was part of it. So with that comes this deep love for guys like D that I meet in the auto parts store, and people like you that I met on an airplane and now have nurtured this beautiful relationship with. Now we're affecting the world together. How crazy is that?
That's awesome.
A chance encounter on an airplane.
Yeah.
We recognized the physical part of who we are, but it went deeper than that right away to an understanding of, wow, this is a great human.
Yep.
And I want to see that in every single person that I encounter.
Yep.
And that's what I'm doing when I'm online. So when I say I hate people, it's because I love them so much. I only want the good part of them. I don't want the ugly part that had a bad day. But if that's what it takes to get beyond it, and I don't have a Messiah complex either, like, oh, you know what I mean? I get it. Some people are just flat out ugly.
Right.
And that's just the way they are. So I'll just continue to move on and let them be ugly on their own.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't want them in my environment.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that it sounds like you have a defense mechanism, but it's a positive one. I think you probably saw that there was the love that your parents had for each other, and they put up a wall and they weren't able to communicate that. And maybe that kind of is hung on to you a little bit, but you've created this defense wall that has served to help people and has also served to help you cope with things. But I want to actually go back and I want to touch on something that you've shared with me before. And it was a gentleman who you helped to get some treatment to save his life. And if you could share that with me.
Yeah, so one of my coaching guys, when I let everybody know I have cancer, a lot of these guys went out and had themselves checked.
Right.
And one of the guys, actually two of the guys, found out they had pancreatic cancer, which is a much worse situation than prostate.
Right.
So the guy was getting treatment, and his doctor said, we're done. We're not going to treat you anymore. Something has come back. The only next thing we can do is give you more whatever. But they were pretty much done. His insurance ran out.
Right.
So I created a nonprofit organization called Check It Like a Man. And it's meant for me to create awareness around not just prostate cancer, but for men to be proactive and go out and get checked. Because most men don't. I'm a man. I got to work. I got this and that.
It's a guy thing.
Yeah, it's a guy thing. We make up dumb excuses. So he had explained to me that his insurance ran out, and I contacted my board. I said, can we send him to Miami for this scan and to meet this doctor that I met on TikTok of all places.
Right.
He saw me and he said, I have this treatment. I was in the gym on the phone with him, and he's got a really harsh accent. He's from Cuba originally. So it was hard to understand already, but in the middle of the gym with all the noise and the fans and everything going on, I'm like, who is this guy?
Right.
So we ended up becoming fast friends. We've flown back and forth to Miami 3 times already. We're going again. But anyway, I was able to pay for this guy in my coaching program to fly down there and get some treatment that he would not have been able to get otherwise had he not joined my program.
Yeah.
like really made a great transformation. This guy's before and after is phenomenal. And then because I met this doctor on TikTok and he told me about this new study that they were doing, that they needed people in the study. We flew this guy down. I met him for the first time.
Yeah.
In a cancer center. Here I am with a freaking thing in my arm. He was there. We're both in robes. We're meeting for the first time, both getting treated for cancer. How weird is that?
It's a down to earth moment for the celebrity and the fan.
And that's exactly what it was.
Right.
This guy saw Clark Bartram and he was all, but I sat in that room going, wow, how much more raw and real.
Just even like you guys are like right now, you guys are like right here. It's a crazy moment.
Yeah. Ass is hanging out of the back of the freaking robes.
Doesn't get more real than that.
Doesn't get more real than that. And we hugged and I said, bro, you know, I'm not going to say his name. I said, hey man, how crazy is this? He said, I know. And it was great. We both just sat there and cried. And there have been so many other men that have reached out to me and said, Clark, if it wasn't for you in your attitude and the way you approach social media and how you do you, and I can tell you're real and you're vulnerable and you're all of that, I went and got my PSA checked and thank you because I found out that I have something that needs to be looked in, or I found out that I don't have anything to worry about. And, you know, it's really amazing. So that, again, could be the defense mechanism kicking in going, I'm doing a lot of good.
You are.
For a lot of guys.
Right.
And this nonprofit organization is because of the platform. It's because of the calling and the purpose and the gift. Right. And I would be selfish if I didn't take advantage of who I am and what I have available to me.
Which is why I think two things can be true at the same time. You could both be having, you know, be operating with your coping mechanism and know that it's serving a greater purpose and you're doing it for the greater good. Yeah. So both of those things I think can be true at the same time. Yeah. And in your case, I think that they definitely are.
Well, so if there are any men out there that need to get their PSA checked, get your PSA checked. It's simple. And if you don't have a kid, I have one. We can make it happen. It's not that hard. And that's all it is, right? It's like, hey, just get a simple test done. Most doctors are going to push back. That's why I've created a kit. I created the nonprofit because I understand now better than I ever have of what that process looks like.
Right.
And I've walked several guys through. Matter of fact, one was going to call me today saying, hey, I just got diagnosed. I need some guidance. So I've talked to more men who've just recently been diagnosed and helped them kind of navigate this very confusing process that they're going to go through and not do treatments or not do these biopsies and things that they might not need when the standard of care model is just going to go, this is what you do. And to my point earlier with all of this anecdotal information, every single man is an individual. Every single man needs to be treated as a single man, not, you know, grapeseed extract is the thing that's going to heal you. Yeah, okay.
All that anecdotal stuff. Yeah. You give so much to everybody. You're always thinking about everyone else. But what does Clark need?
Lighthearted and carefree is my thing. I just love to be lighthearted and carefree. I live every single day. And my goal with every encounter that I have with every human, my wife, my kids, you, Dee and the thing, the mechanic that has taken my money and not working on my car, I try and approach it lighthearted and carefree. Where before, the Clark Bartram of old may have, you know, threatened to beat someone up or do something nefarious. And it's like, that's not what I want. What I want, what I need in life is just peace and joy and a lighthearted and carefree existence because tomorrow's not promised. And I want to leave here and have you guys go, that was awesome. That freaking guy's cool. I feel better because I was around him. And none of who I am is manufactured. What you see is what you get. And I don't hide from who I am. But at the end of the day, I just want to be just chill, man. Just freaking chill.